The following is a class on the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter number 21, Text number 33, given by His Grace Sriman Sankarshan Das Adhikari, recorded on May 26th, 2010, in Sofia, Bulgaria.
So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 3, Chapter number 21, text number 33. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Maitreya uvacha evam tam anubhashyata Bhagavan prakyadakshaja Jagamu bindu sarasa Sarasvatya parishritat Maitreya uvacha Evam tam anubhashyata Bhagavan pratyadakshaja Jagamu bindu sarasa Sarasvatya parishritat. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Maitreya went on. Thus, having spoken to Kardama Muni, the Lord reveals himself only when the senses are in Krishna consciousness, departed from that lake called Bindu Sarovara, which was encircled by the river Sarasvati. Purport. One word in this verse is very significant. The Lord is stated here to be Pratyag Akshaja. He is imperceptible to material senses, but still he can be seen. This appears to be contradictory. We have material senses, but how can we see the Supreme Lord? He is called Adhoksaja, which means that he cannot be seen by material senses. Aksaja means knowledge perceived by material senses. Because the Lord is not an object that can be understood by speculation with our material senses, he is also called Ajita. He will conquer, but no one can conquer him. What does it mean? Then that he can still be seen. It is explained that no one can hear the transcendental name of Krishna, no one can understand his transcendental form, and no one can assimilate his transcendental pastimes. It is not possible. Then how is it possible that he can be seen and understood? When one is trained in devotional service and renders service unto him, gradually one's senses are purified of material contamination. When one's senses are thus purified, then one can see, one can understand, one can hear, and so on. The purification of the material senses and perception of the transcendental form, name, and quality of Krishna are combined together in one word, Pratyag Akshaja, which is used here. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupa sagrajatam sagana raghunatan vitam tam sajivam sadaitam zavadutam parijana saitam Krishna chaitanya devam Shri Radha Krishna padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha So, Krishna is imperceptible by material senses.
Кришна не може да бъде възприет посредством материалните сетива.
If Krishna cannot be understood with the material mind,
Ако Кришна не може да бъде разбран от материалния ум,
if his pastimes cannot be understood with the material mind,
и неговите забавления не могат да бъдат разбрани от
if
материалния
his transcendental name cannot be heard with material ears,
и неговото трансцендентално име не може да бъде чуто с материални уши,
how can we become Krishna conscious?
как тогава можем да станем Кришна осъзнати?
How can we understand that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead?
Как можем да разберем, че Кришна е върховната божествена личност?
This is the challenge I made to one devotee years ago, and before I was a devotee, I was a mental speculator.
Това е едно предизвикателство, което отправих към един друг преданодаян преди години.
And I met one devotee who later became my godbrother, Chitsukananda Prabhu.
И срещнах един преданодаян, който по-късно ми стана духовен брат.
On the campus, this was 1969 at the University of California in Berkeley, California.
Това беше през 1969 година в университета в Бъркли, Калифорния.
He was out on Sankirtan and he met me on the campus.
Той беше на Санкиртан и ме срещна там около университета.
So I challenged them, you Hare Krishna people, you have imperfect senses. That's your philosophy.
И аз го предизвиках. Вие, Харе Кришна, хората имате несъвършени сетива. Това е вашата философия.
But yet, with your imperfect senses, you claim perfect knowledge.
Но с вашите несъвършени сетива, вие твърдите, че имате съвършено знание.
That Krishna is God, you see.
Че Кришна е Бога.
So if your senses are imperfect, how can you really know that that's true?
И ако вашите сетива са несъвършени, как изобщо знаете, че това е дали е вярно?
His reply,
И отговорът му беше:
he couldn't say anything. I defeated him. But this is actually, if he had known this purport, he could have easily defeated me, you see. Because here we understand that even though our senses are imperfect, you see, and that we cannot really understand God with these imperfect senses. Prabhupada is very clearly stated here that when one is trained in devotional service and renders service unto Krishna, by this process one's senses become purified. And thus with purified senses, then you can understand God, you see. So, we know that having imperfect senses is one of the 4 defects of a conditioned soul.
Ние знаем, че един от дефектите на обособената душа е да има несъвършени сетива.
That means as long as one remains conditioned and does not engage in devotional service, then one will not be able to ever have perfect knowledge because your senses are imperfect.
Което означава, че докато човек остава благословен, той никога няма да има съвършено знание, защото сетивата са несъвършени.
But if one engages in devotional service,
Но ако човек се ангажира в предано служение,
beginning with hearing, chanting, and remembering the Lord,
което започва с възпяване, слушане и помнене на Бога,
then by this process of hearing, chanting, remembering, etc.,
тогава посредством този процес на слушане, възпяване и помнене и така нататък,
one's senses will become purified,
сетивата на човек ще се пречистят,
and one will be able to see the Lord
човек ще може да види Бога
in the form of His name,
в формата на Неговото име,
in the form of the deity.
в формата на Божеството.
He'll be able to understand the transcendental significance of Krishna's pastimes.
Човек ще може да разбере трансценденталното значение на забавленията на Кришна.
He will be able to understand how it is that Krishna, how can we understand truly that Krishna is the Supreme Person? He can understand all of this.
Ще може да разбере наистина как Кришна е върховната божествена личност. Всичко това ще му се разкрие.
So, just see how important this is, the art of activities, devotional service.
Така че може да видите колко са важни нашите дейности в преданното служене.
Just by intellectualism, you cannot realize the Supreme Truth.
Просто посредством използване на интелекта човек не може да разбере върховната
There
личност.
must be practice.
Необходима е и практика.
And when does that practice begin?
И къде и с какво започва?
We rise by 4 a.m.
Практика тя започва с
We attend the Mangalarti,
станане 4
you see, etc. So, in this way, by the regulative activities of devotional service,
По този начин, като извършва регулираните дейности на преданното служене,
our mundane senses become purified,
нашите светски материални сетива се пречистват.
which means our imperfect senses gradually transform into perfect senses.
Което означава, че нашите несъвършени сетива постепенно се трансформират в съвършени сетива.
And when your senses are perfect, then you can through your own senses you can get perfect knowledge.
И когато вашите сетива станат съвършени, тогава посредством вашите сетива ви може да получите съвършено знание.
Actually, we already have perfect senses.
Всъщност ние вече имаме съвършени сетива.
They're simply covered by imperfections.
Но те са просто покрити от различни несъвършенства.
Lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, and envy.
Поход, гняв, алчност, илюзия,
They're polluting our senses.
завист. И тези неща замърсяват нашите сетива.
But through this wonderful transcendental process known as Krishna consciousness,
Посредством прекрасния трансцендентален процес, известен като Кришна съзнание,
then one will regain one's original purified state of consciousness,
ние възвръщаме своето изначално пречистено състояние на съзнание,
which is both wonderfully simple and simply wonderful.
което е едновременно прекрасно, просто и удивително просто и просто удивително.
So I can ask now if there's any questions. Ikshvaku Prabhu.
Като постигнем Кришна према и Кришна тогава вече не ни пита какво искаме.
Is it true that when we achieve Krishna prema, Krishna is no longer asking us something? He's no longer asking us to do something.
Not to do what we want, what blessing we want. Каква благословие искаме? Не ни пита каква благословие искаме.
At this stage, he's not asking us what do we want, what blessing do we want.
What?
Blessings.
He no longer asks us what blessings we want.
Yes. When we achieve Krishna prema, he's no longer asking us what do we want.
Actually, Krishna is not under any such rules. I mean, he can, in the loving reciprocation with his pure devotees, you can see so many different pastimes are there.
В любовните взаимоотношения между Кришна и преданните има различни забавления.
Krishna may ask his devotees for this, the devotees may ask Krishna for that. There's no restriction like that.
Да иска от своите преданни нещо, преданните искат от Кришна нещо. Няма някакви ограничения в тези взаимоотношения.
Krishna asks Mother Jasoda for, something. Mother Jasoda orders Krishna to do something. There's no such restriction.
дошъл да иска от Кришна нещо, Кришна след това иска от нея нещо.
There's free, open relationship, personal relationship going on. Loving reciprocation.
Личностните взаимоотношения са открити и има обмяна в тях.
He certainly was asking something from Mother Jasoda.
Сигурно Кришна искал разни неща от майка Яшода.
He didn't want to be left alone when the milk was boiling over it. Is it? Huh? All right, what's the question?
That Krishna, it's like when Krishna becomes pleased, he's not asking.
Krishna becomes what?
Pleased, or we attain the
Pleased. Okay.
So that time Krishna is not asking if we want any blessings from him, but he is always doing that.
Една случка, нали, Кришна се появил пред Пралад Махарадж и му казал...
When he becomes pleased and he appears, he asks, what benediction I can offer you. He is always inquiring the devotees.
But the point of liberation, he's always asking them.
Exactly.
Докато не получат освобождение, той всъщност ги пита какво иска.
Той питал Пралад Махарадж, какво искаш, и той му казал Кришна према. И Кришна му казал, ти имаш вече Кришна према. А Пралад Махарадж му казал, нали, ако аз имах Кришна према, ти нямаше да ме питаш какво искам.
He relates the story that when Krishna appeared to Prahlad Maharaj and Krishna asked him, what do you want? And Prahlad Maharaj said, I want Krishna Prema. Не, какво? Така ли?
Кришна према.
И той му казал,
И Кришна му казал, ти вече имаш Кришна према.
And he asked, give me Krishna Prema, and Krishna said, you already have Krishna Prema. And Prahlad said, if I had Krishna Prema, then you would not ask me, what do you want?
Of course, Prahlad has Krishna prema. But one of the symptoms of one who has Krishna prema is he doesn't think that he has Krishna prema. Someone thinks, oh yes, Haribo Prabhu's, I have Krishna prema. I remember there was one godbrother of mine. He's no longer with us. He made an announcement. I remember he told me, I remember him stating right openly, said, they just call me the Paramahamsa Brahmachari. And he made a very flashy CD also, which is a little bit popular in the movement. It was a cassette tape. He was really a flashy brahmachari. But he's long gone, you see. He was advertising himself as a Paramahamsa, you see. Which means a perfected spiritual being. And after carrying on like that for a little bit, he left. He never heard of him ever again after that. So it's natural that Prahlad would speak like that, as you're describing with Hiranyakash, with the Shringadev. Because the pure devotee feels that I have no love for Krishna. Lord Chaitanya showed that example. He said, if I had any love for Krishna, I would die immediately in Krishna's absence. The fact that I'm living proves that I have no love for Krishna. So the pure devotee will always beg benediction from the Lord. And the Lord says, because you already have Krishna prema, therefore I have no benediction I can give you. the devotee in his transcendental humility will continue to try to convince the Lord to bestow Krishna prema upon him.
Дори ако преданодайни има Кришна према и Бога отказва да му бъде благословие, защото няма какво повече да бъде, преданодайни ще се опитва в своето смирение по някакъв начин да убеди Бога, че няма Кришна према.
He will even have a transcendental debate with the Lord, you see.
Той дори ще проведе такъв трансцендентален спор с Бога.
The Lord says, but you have Krishna prema, so there's nothing I can give you.
Богът казва, но ти имаш Кришна према.
He will argue that I have no Krishna prema, therefore you must bestow benediction upon me.
Нищо повече не мога ти дам, но преданодайни ще спори и ще каже, аз нямам Кришна према, затова ти трябва.
In this way, the transcendental rasa is going on between the Lord and his pure devotees.
Така, това е трансценденталната раса между Бога и неговите чисти преданодайни.
I hope that helps a little bit.
Надявам се, че това отговаря.
Any other questions? Tulsi Prabhu.
Всъщност, две неща искам да питам. Първият въпрос е, този известен стих казва, Севан муки хиджива дал. Аз винаги съм се чудил, защо се казва, че правилното служение започва с езика, а не с слушането, с слушителите.
He has two things to ask.
Just give me one at a time.
Okay, yes. First is this famous verse which says Seven Mukhi Hijihva Dao. He always wondered why devotional service begins with the tongue and not with the ear, for example.
Yes. Well, some people just refuse to hear about Krishna. They're so proud, you know.
Някои хора просто отказват да слушат за Кришна, защото са много горди.
But you give them prasadam, they mellow out and they're willing to hear after they have prasadam.
Но като им дадете прасадам, те се усмихват и са склонни да слушат след се наяли.
So there you see.
Така че
Even those who cannot hear about Krishna, if you give them prasadam and become satisfied, now they can hear about Krishna.
са склонни да слушат за Кришна, ако им дадете прасадам, тогава са готови да слушат.
Next question.
Другият въпрос е, понеже Санкаршан първо говореше за това, че процесът започва с ставането сутрин 4 часа. Понякога, като съм говорил с преданодадени и особено преданодадените, които не водят просто храна в живота, трябва да работят и така нататък. Те казват, много е трудно вечер до късно да съм активен и в сутринта ден им да започна толкова рано. Може ли да приеме, че садана означава, че има изключение? Примерно, ти можеш да имаш твоите садана, която примерно започва малко по-късно.
You mentioned that the process of purification begins with rising up early in the morning, 4 o'clock. But when he spoke with some devotees who are not living in the temple and they have their duties in home, so sometimes they share that it's difficult for them to stay late night, you know, and then wake up early in the morning. So they adjust their sadhana. Is this possible that one can have a particular type of sadhana for a particular type of person? He has a certain schedule, but it starts a little bit later.
Yeah, there can be different schedules. Just like when I was a brahmachari for 14 years, strictly following the morning program. You know, Mangalarti every day for 14 years. And then Krishna arranged for me to get married. And when I got a job, they said, okay, you come to work at 11 o'clock and you get off at 8 in the morning. You work from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. All night I had to work during the night. I think, oh my God, how am I going to go to Mangalarti now? I have to be at work during Mangalarti. Oh no. So what am I supposed to do, you know? So when I reported in, they said, well, you know, nobody likes to work the night shift. So we don't mind if you take an extra long lunch break. So when would I take my lunch break? At 4 a.m. And I would drive over to the apartment where Vishnupriya Manaji and I were living, I would pick up Vishnupriya Manaji, drive her to the temple, attend Mangalarti, and then back at work by 5 o'clock, by 5:15. You see.
Отивах до дома ни, взимах Вишнуприя Матаджи, отивахме в храма, имахме Мангаларт и аз в 5:15.
So even though my schedule was very strange, and because I had the determination, no, I must observe Mangalarti.
И въпреки, че моят режим беше така много странен, аз бях решителен да присъствам на Мангаларт.
Krishna fulfilled my desire. You see. But what if I thought, well, now I'm married, and it was okay getting up from Mangalarti as a brahmachari, but now, I'd rather sleep in, I'm a householder, now I have an excuse, and, oh, Haribo, Prabhu, Then I probably wouldn't have gotten that facility. You see, if I hadn't had the strong desire to attend Mangalarti, then Krishna would have put me in a situation where I would not have been able to go because I didn't really want to go.
Ако аз нямах това силно желание да посещавам Мангаларти, Кришна вероятно ще ме постави в такава ситуация, в която наистина нямаше да мога да отида, защото просто не го желая.
So I remember somebody. I told them about, I was instructing somebody to chant 16 rounds every day. This is our process. And they said, I don't really have time to chant. It takes 2 hours. I don't have 2 hours free in my day. I just can't do this. So I said, send me your schedule. Turns out they had 2 hours of family time every evening watching television with their family. 2 hours of television time, you see. So, if somebody says, well, I'm a householder, I have to have my TV time, and I have to have this and that. Well, you may not have time for Mangalarti then.
Аз съм семейен, трябва да отделям по 2 часа за телевизия и за други неща, тогава може и да нямате време за Мангаларти.
So anybody who says it's just not possible for me to get up early and observe Mangalarti, I just say, give me your schedule and let me have a look at it.
Всеки, който ми каже, не мога да ставам сутрин рано и да правя Мангаларти, аз му казвам, пратете ми...
I mean, there could be situations where it's not practical, I admit that.
Аз признавам, че може да има ситуации, в които...
Maybe they have to adjust it, have it at 5 o'clock, you see.
Но човек трябва по някакъв начин да настрои нещата и примерно в 5 часа да...
But it's really easy to rationalize one's way into, getting up at the last minute, getting up after sunrise at the last minute, throwing some breakfast prasadam down your throat and going to work with no round none at all.
Разбира се, много лесно човек просто да става в последния момент поради изгрев слънце, да си хвърля някаква закуска и да тръгва веднага на работа, без дори да мантрува един кръг.
And then coming home and then sitting down to watch the evening news on television and then say, well, let me chant a few rounds now after dinner.
Да се върне вкъщи, да гледа малко новините по телевизията и да си каже, сега ще помантрувам малко.
And there's that late night movie on. I really didn't want to miss that, and well, Gurudev will understand it. I'm a householder, I can't really chant my rounds all the time. You get the point? One can rationalize, well, now I'm a householder, and Prabhupada said the householders are always in Maya, so what can I do? I'm a householder. But just see the sadhana of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. How many kids did he have? He had about 12 kids. Can you imagine? He had a very intense job working for the British government, He had such perfect sadhana. He was writing all those books and the songs while holding down a job and raising 12 kids. One of whom was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So there may be sometimes adjustments that have to be made. Have Mangalarti like an hour late, but everyone should sing their Gavastakam prayers every morning. That's a fact.
от вашите молитви.
And everyone should rise before sunrise.
Всички трябва да стават преди изгрева на слънцето.
I mean, if they get home at 2 o'clock in the morning from their job, or something like that, then why not just finish your rounds and go observe Mangalarti and then take rest, you see?
Ако човек, примерно, работи нощна смяна и се върне 2 часа през нощта, защо да не си свърши кръговете, да отиде да Мангаларати и след това да си почива?
What would be a schedule that would absolutely, maybe if they're working 2 jobs, you know?
Може би, ако човек работи на 2 работи.
I mean, there could be situations that would be absolutely impossible, but
Може да има някакви такива положения, ситуации.
what would be a situation where someone that you could think of where somebody would not be able to rise early before sunrise and sing their Gavastika prayers? Can you give me an example?
Дайте ми някакъв пример за ситуация, в която човек да не може да става рано преди изгрева слънце и да прави Мангаларати. Може някой да даде такава ситуация?
Аз най-вече съм чувал, че проблема е, че примерно ако работният ти ден, чувал съм някой примерно да така става, че работният ми ден продължава примерно до 8-9 часа понякога. И докато се върна, трябва да сготвят на някакъв пресам да го предложат, след това трябва да се вършат малко и много често стават 12-1 часа. И те казват, аз като си легна нали, в 12 или 1 часа и да искам не мога да стана рано.
He has heard this explanation that, for example, a householder, he comes back 8-9 o'clock in the evening from work, and then he has to cook prasada and prepare.
He has no wife?
Няма ли съпруга?
I suppose he has if he's householder.
Why doesn't she cook the prasadam?
Тя да не, защото тогава съпругата да не сготви.
That wouldn't make sense. If you have a wife and you have to come back and cook the prasadam when you get home.
Имаш жена и да се върнеш от работа и да трябва да готвиш, това не виждам смисъл.
Krishna consciousness means teamwork. The wife and husband help each other in their Krishna consciousness.
Кришна съзнание означава работа в екип.
So the wife should have the prasadam waiting. As soon as the husband comes, immediately they can take prasadam.
Жената трябва да е приготвила прасада веднага, като се върне съпруга да може да.
And then the husband and wife they can wash the dishes and then take rest.
Тогава съпруга и съпругата може да измият чиниите и да
By 10 o'clock
да си легнат до
or
10.
10:30 and then get up by
10-10:30 може да си легнали да си
4:30.
и след това да стана в 4-4:30. Няма проблем.
If one has that desire to follow Prabhupada's instruction to rise early during Brahma Muhurta and sing their Gavastakam prayers.
Ако човек има това желание да следва инструкциите на Прабхупада и да става рано сутрин и
Krishna fulfilled that desire.
да възпява Мангаларати, тогава Кришна ще
If one doesn't realize the importance of it,
но ако човек не разбира какво е значението, важността на това,
don't realize how important it is to take advantage of that time of the day when the mode of goodness is predominant.
и не разбира колко е важно човек да се възползва от този период на деня, когато преобладава гуната на доброто,
They will have a hard time chanting the holy name of the Lord meditatively.
тогава на тях ще им е трудно да възпяват святото име на Бога медитативно.
Because once the sun comes up, it becomes Rajagun. Instead of the meditative mode, it becomes the doing mode, you see.
Защото когато слънцето изгрее, тогава преобладава раджагуна, която е гуната на действието.
And who wants to meditate when there's so many things to do?
Кой иска да медитира, когато има толкова много неща за правене?
So it's difficult to chant the holy name properly after the sunrise.
Затова трудно е да се възпява святото име на Бога правилно след изгрева на слънцето.
Of course, if you got most of your rounds done before sunrise, that wouldn't be so hard because you have that momentum going for you.
Ако човек е направил повече от кръговете си преди изгрева, няма да е толкова трудно.
But to chant 16 rounds every day after sunrise is very difficult to do it with taste.
Но е много трудно човек, ако възпява всеки ден 16 кръга след изгрев слънце, да получи някакъв вкус.
So we're just trying to encourage everyone to be kind to yourself.
Това ние се опитваме да окуражим всеки от вас да бъде.
We're not trying to be hard on you and make your life miserable. Please don't misunderstand.
Да сте добри към себе си, а не да си правите живота труден.
We're trying to show you how to be kind to yourself.
Искаме да ви покажем как да бъдете добри към себе си.
How you can get the most nectar out of every day that possible.
Как да извлечете възможно най-много нектар всеки ден, колкото е възможно.
Why punish yourself?
Защо трябва да се самонаказвате?
When you can be kind to yourself.
Когато може да бъдете добри към себе си.
That's what we're trying to train you to understand.
Това е което се опитваме да ви обучиме да разберете.
Narada Muni Prabhu.
Текста се казва, че човек не може да види Кришна, но ние трябва да виждаме Кришна духовния учител. Какво е правилното виждане на Кришна духовния учител?
Today's verse states that we cannot see Krishna with the material senses, but it is also stated that we should see Krishna in the spiritual master. What is the proper vision of Krishna in the spiritual master?
The spiritual master is seen as the pure representative of Krishna.
Духовният учител трябва да бъде виждан като чист представител на Кришна.
He is the perfect messenger.
Той е съвършеният пратеник.
Because whatever Krishna says, he simply repeats the same thing.
Защото каквото Кришна каже, той просто повтаря същите неща.
In a manner suitable for that particular person in that particular time and place.
По начин, който е подходящ за конкретната личност и конкретните обстоятелства, време и място.
Because the spiritual master does not adulterate in any way the teachings of Krishna.
И тъй като духовният учител не променя по какъвто и да било начин ученията на Кришна.
Therefore he is said to be as good as Krishna.
Затова се казва, че той е толкова добър, колкото и самия Кришна.
Coming in contact with the bona fide spiritual master has the same potency as coming directly in contact with Krishna.
Да влезеш в контакт с авторитетен духовен учител е същото като да влезеш в контакт с Кришна.
In fact, Prabhupada states in the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Също Шрила Прабхупада казва в Чайтаня Чаритамрита.
He says the supreme personality of Godhead. He says Krishna is the supreme personality of served Godhead. Note the word served.
Шрила Прабхупад казва, че Кришна е върховната божествена личност, на която се служи.
And the spiritual master is the supreme personality of servitor Godhead. Servitor.
А духовният учител е върховната божествена личност, която служи.
So one should see the spiritual master as God.
Затова човек трябва да гледа на духовният учител като на Бог.
Not that he is personally Krishna.
Не, че той е лично Бога.
But one should see him as the representative of Krishna.
Но човек трябва да гледа на него като на представител на Кришна.
See him as good as Krishna.
Което значи, че
And serve him just as one would serve Krishna.
той е толкова добър, колкото Кришна. И да служи на него точно както би служил на Кришна.
I was with Prabhupada in a wonderful festival in 1972.
Аз бях с Шрила Прабхупад на един прекрасен фестивал през 1972.
It was in New Vrindavan, West Virginia, USA.
Който се състоя в Ню Вриндаван, Западна Вирджиния.
And the media came.
И тогава дойдоха представители на
The
медиите.
New York Times was there, Newsweek magazine, the big US media came for this event.
Големите вестници и изписания на щатите.
It was Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja.
И това беше Вяса Пуджата на Шрила Прабхупад.
So he explained, he knew that they would find this a little weird to seeing a man being worshipped as God.
И той обясни, че на тях ще им се види силно странно, че ние обожаваме обикновен човек като Бога.
So he explained to them to help them understand.
Той обясни, за да им помогне да разберат.
He said during the British rule of India,
Той им каза, че по време на британското управление в Индия
there was the representative of the British royalty who stayed in India. He was called the Viceroy.
Тогава представителя на британското кралство в Индия е бил вице.
So wherever the Viceroy went, he would be offered the same honor, the same respect, the same gifts, everything as if he was the king himself.
Където и да отидал вице-краля, той получавал същата почет, същите дарове, каквито биха дали на самия цар.
But he would not think this honor is for me.
Но той никога не мислил, че тази почест се отдава на него лично.
He would think, I'm accepting this on behalf of the king or the queen of England.
Той си мислил, че приема това от името на кралицата на Англия.
And whatever gifts he received, he would send them to the royal treasury. He wouldn't keep them for himself.
И всички дарове, които получил, той ги изпраща в царската хазна. Не ги задържа.
So, spiritual master is like that.
Така е и духовният учител.
Whatever gifts you may give him, he uses it in Krishna's service. He doesn't use it for his sense gratification.
Каквото и да му подариш, той не го използва за стимул наслаждение, в служене на Кришна.
Whatever honor and respect you give him,
Каквато почет и уважение му даваш,
he does not think, oh, I'm a great devotee, I deserve this.
той не си мисли, аз съм велик предан отдаден и ги заслужавам тази почет.
Now he thinks, I'm just an insignificant servant of my Guru Maharaj. So whatever I receive, whatever honor and respect I receive, it all goes to him.
Той си мисли, аз съм незначителен слуга на моя Гуру Махарадж и всяка почет, която получавам, отива за него.
So in this way, the spiritual master is called transparent via media.
По този начин духовният учител се нарича прозрачен посредник.
He doesn't take credit for anything. He just gives all credit to his spiritual master.
Той не приема никакви
So in this way, he is as good as he is meeting him is as good as meeting Krishna.
Затова по тази причина да срещнеш духовния учител е все едно да срещнеш Кришна.
And this is Krishna could bestow complete, total realization upon Arjuna.
И както Кришна можел да дари Арджуна с пълна реализация,
the spiritual master can bestow complete, total realization upon his disciple.
По същия начин духовният учител може да дари своя ученик с пълна реализация.
So our time is up. We will now worship Srila Prabhupada
Времето свърши, сега е време
and take the darshan of the deities.
И да имаме даршан с Бога.
And now we have a wonderful day to prepare ourselves for this evening program. The devotees can be cooking nicely a feast. Devotees to be fasting today for Nishringa Chaturdashi.
И днес имаме прекрасен ден, който се пости за да
Increase your devotional activities, increase your chanting, increase your reading, increase your bhakti.
Увеличете своите дейности, правилното служене, вашето четене, вашето възпяване.
These appearance days have great shakti to empower us and to advance quickly in the path of devotional service.
Дните на появяване имат голяма шакти да ни помогнат да напреднем в правилното служене.
Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Изгрей Шримад Санкаршана Прабhu ki jai.